Hello, good afternoon, selamat petang. Welcome to Zaid Ibrahim Podcast. Today I have with me my old friend Mr. P. Wetamurti. Welcome, Weta.
Thank you.
Weta is a politician. He was a minister before. He's still the president of this Malaysian Advancement Party, a political party. And he's here today to talk about things that are of importance to the country. Okay, Weta, I'm going to start by asking you. You have this Malaysian Advancement Party. Is it an Indian-based party or is it a multiracial party?
It's an Indian-based party.
Indian-based party. Can you explain why you chose to form an Indian-based party?
Well, our history goes back to our struggle from HINRAF. HINRAF is basically an organization that took up the cause of the marginalized Indian community. So after many years of not wanting to get involved in politics, but strictly to highlight the issue and hope that whoever comes to government will bring about the changes, we realized that was not going to happen. And that realization actually hit me in 2018 after I became a minister, when I realized that there were a lot of hurdles placed upon my work. Many could not accept the fact that an NGO has been given the position, a leader of NGO has been given the position of minister.
Yeah.
And Tun basically told me that the hurdles I face is because I am not a political party and I don't wish to be a politician. So upon Tun's advice, actually, he kind of told me that if I'm serious about addressing the issue of the Indian community, then it has to be political. And I kind of, took Tun's advice, a man of wisdom, and thought about it very clearly. And looking at all the hurdles that was placed before me as a minister, I realized that, it is time for me to form a political party. So I formed an Indian political party. But of course, having formed the party, there were requests by others also to join us, because many are fighting for the cause of human rights and justice. And my background is along those lines. And our friends from the Chinese and Malay community have asked me. In fact, even the Orang Asli groups also asked me. Then at some point of time, we had an EGM, and we made an application to amend our constitution. We got the endorsement of the EGM, but unfortunately, the ROS has been very reluctant to approve our application to amend our constitution to be a multiracial party.
Okay, so you have a government that refused your application to be a multiracial party.
Yes.
So the government encourages us to be racial party.
It looks that way.
Yes. We are very racial anyway nowadays, as you can see. Racial problems surface every time on every issue. We can't talk anything without, connecting it to the race.
Yes.
Why is that? Why is it after so many years? Why do we still have to talk about Malay, Bhumiputra, China, India? Why can't we talk about like other countries? I don't think other countries talk like that anymore. I mean, have you heard of a Thai talking about Chinese Thai or Malay Thai or Indonesia, Singapore? This must be the only country.
Yes.
Well, why is that?
My view is that those who have been in power and those who are in power prefers that way. I think they feel that by keeping the community divided, by creating feelings of uneasiness among the various races, they feel they can remain in power. That is my take on it.
So it's a deliberate policy.
Deliberate policy, and I said those who have been in power and those who are in power. Now, if you look at the current government, when Anwar Ibrahim, when he was the opposition leader, he talked about being a multiracial country, trying to promote a multiracial theory.
Yeah.
There are lots of theories floated that the Chinese and Indians bought. And he said he will be fair to everyone, without compromising the rights of the Malays. All that is good, We, the non-Malays, have got no issue with the Malay special privileges. Because if we look at the Constitution, the intention of the framers of the Constitution was very clear. It was to uplift the backward Malay community then. And the second limb of Article 153 very clearly says that whatever that is done to uplift the Malay community should not infringe upon the rights of the non-Malays.
Yes.
But generally, politicians only talk about the first limb and conveniently ignore the second limb. Now, in my opinion, I've got no issue about Article 153. But there mustn't be any deliberate policy to discriminate the non-Malays. There is no need to discriminate in the first place. We are a rich country. We got everything. And by discriminating, the politicians are keeping the races separately and continue to churn the feeling of uneasiness, the racial feelings, the contempt among the various races. It is a mistaken belief that by creating that, they can remain in power. It's a mistaken belief.
Okay, before we come to the national politics as such, I just want to focus a bit more on the Indian issues. I noticed there are so many Indian parties as well. Why can't you all get together and say, let's all fight for the people for the Indian community under this banner? Has there ever been an attempt to do that? Can you have a congress, a national congress of Indians in the country?
Whether we can unite as one or two political entity, I'm not too sure. But on my part, last year I made at least 3 attempts to publicly say that all the Indian parties should come together to address the common issue that is faced by the community.
Yes.
Because whoever party they are, whichever coalition they are with, eventually they are going to address the same issue. So I made the call 3 times, and on one occasion I even openly said that MIC being the oldest party in the country, oldest Indian party in the country, perhaps they can take the lead. We are a fairly new party, but they didn't move on it. So to answer your question, whether the Indians can unite under one party, I'm not too sure. If we are going to unite under one party, firstly, we must acknowledge that there are issues with us, and we must acknowledge the root cause of the issue, and we must come to a common understanding and a practical solution to the problems. Now, this many political parties do not have. They don't have a vision. They don't have a plan for the community. They just want to be in position of power so that they and their members can reap the benefit of being a coalition party. And they know if they start addressing the issue of the Indian community, it's too complicated. And they are so worried that they will offend their political masters. So when there's fear among them that they will offend their political masters, then I don't think we can unite.
Okay. So, it's not just the Indian community, I see. There's a problem with the Chinese as well. Although the Chinese are quite, I think less problematic in that sense, because And now everybody seems to be with DAP.
Yeah.
And MCA is kind of almost weak, very weak. And the Malaysia, you have the same problem. I mean, you have UMNO, then you have, of course, Anwar's party, PKR, and also the party of the Bersatu and PAS. So, politics takes center stage in the country all the time, yet doing very little.
Yes.
And now you see, let me ask you this. Why is it that, especially I'm talking about the Melayu, the Malays, the biggest party. Now, where do you see, I know you're not, I'm not a fellow, but you know them. Where do you see UMNO being the oldest Malay party? Do you think they're making progress? Do you think they're going to be getting more and more problem? I want to talk about UMNO first. Well, you need a leader in the country.
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm qualified to talk about UMNO, but it's just my honest observation. See, well, you know, I have got a history of opposing UMNO before. Up to 2007, we organized a rally against UMNO, targeting particularly UMNO. Then 2013, we struck a deal with UMNO, and Hindraf struck a deal with Najib then. Now, prior, my observation of UMNO, prior to 2007, prior to the 2008 elections that was held 3 months after the Hindraf rally, prior to that, UMNO was probably an egoistic party. Nobody can challenge them. They've ruled long enough, 50 years. They are superpowers. No way anyone can challenge them. But 3 months after the rally, for the first time, they lost 2/3 majority because the Indians who the late Samuelu, proudly then proclaimed that 90% are Barisan voters, fixed deposit, I personally, I would say, I will take credit to that. I personally made a video CD from UK and urged the Indians to vote opposition en bloc. We had thousands of our Hindraf supporters going to the ground to campaign against UMNO and BN. And came a stage, they even asked, what about PAS? I said, no, just vote for PAS also. It was a protest vote. But that elections saw UMNO for the first time losing, or Barisan Nasional losing 2/3 majority. I think about easily 6 ministers lost their seats, including Samuelu, Gerakan leader and MCA leaders, and even UMNO leaders. A minimum of 6, I think about 8 probably. And they lost 2/3, they lost 5 states for the first time. They normally have Kelantan, Terengganu. They had extra 3 states. Selangor, which is the richest state, Penang and Perak then. Okay. Now, post 2008 elections, probably UMNO came to their senses. Pak Lah resigned, Najib came in, and probably Najib thought, fine, we have made mistakes. So he engaged us. We had discussions. We had very frank discussions. He promised. He said, okay, fine, let PAS be PAS. Let's talk. Let's try to resolve this. I gave the issues and my proposal, for the issue to be resolved, and he agreed. We signed. Now, that was the change, beginning of UMNO's change. Then, of course, he didn't keep his word. He left, and then came 2018 elections, by which time Najib was seen as a good leader in UMNO. He had a grip of the party until the 1MDB scandal. And then, of course, Tun and Tan Sri Muhyiddin left the party and, formed the Bersatu. And then there was a new change of mindset among the people, for a while, that people wanted the country to be ruled, without corruption. So there was a massive campaign against corruption in the 2018 elections. And 2018, UMNO was hit hard. They lost completely, Government was taken over by Pakatan, with Bersatu leading. And then there was another round for soul searching within UMNO in 2018. 2022, UMNO and Barisan, combination of UMNO and Barisan had 30 seats, I think, have 30 seats. And they managed to, what was, an opposition party, PKR, enemies became friends overnight. They shook hands at the early hours in the morning of post elections, and they agreed to form a coalition government, which is okay, but the looks like it now. UMNO is now kind of, my opinion, as I said, I don't think I'm a proper person to comment on their internal issues, but my take is the longer UMNO is with the current coalition, the more damage they're going to do to themselves. I say that because if you see, the Ikoning by-election, for example, the portrayal of UMNO as working with DAP is quite strong out there. So again, as I said, the politics of fear, that actually there's nothing wrong with DAP, but the fear that is created among the Malays that UMNO is now working closely with DAP for whatever reason. DAP is given a tag and UMNO has lost its original struggle, Now, what I see in the entire scenario is that PKR, which was a multiracial party, having formed the government and the leader being Anwar Ibrahim being the Prime Minister, has now discarded his promises towards the Chinese and Indians and is bending backwards to please the majority Malay voters. I'm certain PKR or Pakatan, for the matter, will not be able to make inroads in Kelantan, Terengganu and certain parts of Kedah. They will not be able to make inroads. But Anwar Ibrahim is hoping to make inroads in the urban areas or semi-urban areas where UMNO are supposed to be strong. So basically, UMNO being with Pakatan Harapan is giving an opportunity for Anwar Ibrahim to take away their remaining, whatever support they have, to take away the remaining. So in my view, the sooner they leave doesn't mean they have to bring down the government. They should leave the government, keep the government intact by giving their support, leave the government and work on their base support if they want to move forward. That is my honest.
Okay, I just want to come back to you gave obviously the Indian community at the right time could get together and make a lot of difference to the political outcome. And do you still think the Indians have that force now?
They do have. More so after Anwar Ibrahim became the Prime Minister. Over the last 2 years, they have seen the broken promises of Anwar Ibrahim. And now they realize that he's not going to do anything for the Indian community. In fact, last November, I wrote a letter to him and I said, 2025, come October 2025, there's going to be pembentangan RMK 13 and that a specially tailored economic program for the Indians must be included to actually, in line with his own propaganda previously, that his government will be an inclusive government. So previous 12 plans never had, but the 13th plan must have, taking in line his own word, that his government will be an inclusive government, but it's not happening. I've written so many letters, it's not happening, and the Indian community realize that they will probably be shortchanged under Anwar Ibrahim as well. So there is a great chance that they will probably not vote for Pakatan Harapan any longer. Previously, I've directed them to vote, for Pakatan Harapan in 2008, 2018. But I think, now that I am a party, I think the people know that if their votes are concentrated on a single direction, they can make change. Now, they have also been told that Indians are kingmakers, just like in, Aikudeng, But I've been telling my people, you don't make somebody a kingmaker and you become a slave. That's not the whole deal. If we are truly a kingmaker, we make somebody a king and make sure we are part of the government of the king, not slaves.
Okay, now we have talked a bit about UMNO being the Malay, last Malay grouping. What about PAS? What's your view of PAS?
I have supported PAS before. In 2008 elections, I told my people to support PAS, and after winning 5 elections, I even had a PAS delegation meeting me in London when I was in exile then. We talked about a lot of things. Upon my return in 2012, I think I met with the PAS spiritual leader then, the late Nick Aziz. And I've met various PAS leaders. At that point of time, Matsabu was there, and they were still there. And when I made the proposal for the Indian community solution for the Indian community, at that time, PAS was part of Pakatan Rakyat then, and PAS didn't have a problem. They looked at my proposal. Strange, this coming from PAS. I'll tell you this. In total, we had 22 meetings with Pakatan Harapan. Towards the end, I think probably the 20th meeting, the top leadership of PAS, meaning their Secretary Generals, I think, met me. And PAS was represented by the Sekjen then, Dato Mustafa Ali. And during the discussion, he said, as far as PAS is concerned, we have gone through the document, we have deliberated in our meetings. We feel that if we don't fulfill these promises, these wishes of the Indian community, it is dosa in Islam. I was shocked. PAS saying it is dosa in Islam. Whereas DAP said, we got no issue. But PKR said, it's a racist demand. Can you see?
Okay, so you have hopes on PAS then?
Now, I'm not too sure. I've not engaged them yet, But at the current rate, no doubt they have created fear among the non-Muslims. No doubt about that. But...
Okay, let me stop you first. Is that fear justified? I mean, what is it that they have done that you're really scared?
First thing, they are taking the hardline Islamic.
Give me an example.
Well, for example, the hudud law, for example, it's a kind of taboo, though it doesn't affect us. So they say.
But they're not going to do it.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what I mean? PAS has been in government already. You know that.
Yeah. Yes.
And
yes.
These are issues that are important for them, for their core supporters. Yes. Just like UMNO will say, we will defend Malay rights. They don't really defend Malay rights. They defend the Malay rich rights or the Malay elite, But they had to say it.
Yes.
So I sometimes wonder whether the fear of PAS is actually justified. Okay, there may be certain announcements by state government leaders. You wear skirts, we're going to get fined, or you cannot watch this concert or that concert. Yeah, but those are social issues that are, when they are come to power, it is something you can negotiate, surely. I mean, I don't know why people are scared of power, because you must understand, this country is a democracy largely. I mean, the rudiments of the democracy there. I mean, you still have to vote. Everyone has got one vote. You vote every 5 years, and the vote is secret. Now, with all those things, if a party wants to come to power, like PAS, they have to get votes. So, if they become so obnoxious and so bizarre, you see, Taliban is different. Taliban is just 99% Afghan or 99% the people of the same stock and same language. They can say whatever they want. This is what the country must have. But in Malaysia, PAS knows. PAS has got what? Okay, 65% Malays, but not every Malay wants them.
Yeah.
So this is part I don't understand. I mean, Veta, why is it that people are so... I think the AP has been successful in alienating the other non-Malay parties from PAS.
Yes.
They created this bogeyman, and PAS is not clever enough to retaliate or to explain. But I really think you should make approaches to PAS. I still think so.
Yeah. I mean, we are not keeping our doors closed. Come next elections, we are now a political party. We are no more we are a political party.
Yeah.
Come next elections, as it stands now, I think, based on my ground response, as it stands, as of today, assuming Parliament is dissolved today, I can channel a minimum of 60% of the Indian votes to whichever coalition. That is as it is today. I believe by the time the next election comes, I can sway 70% minimum. Now, first thing, I think, PAS have to make their stand clear that they are not opposed to the legitimate rights of the non-Muslims. They have to explain, they have to assure us also that they will not infringe on our religion, our practice.
You're scared of that?
I think not only Indians,
If you look at Kelantan, I mean, the sleeping Buddha and the about 10 Buddhist structures for the last 100 years. What have PAS done?
Well, I'm also Kelantanese, by the way.
Okay,
I was born there, I know.
So I'm telling you, so what have they done?
I don't have the fear, because I live with them. I was born
So
there, I live there just like you.
Yeah, so my question is, if you live with PAS, they're not so fearful. I mean, they're not so bad.
We can talk to them, I'm sure. But there are certain things that even I will have difficulty explaining to my people.
Yeah, of course.
Because they do not understand PAS. But if PAS comes up openly, and explain their position.
Weta Murti must be seen with the PAS leaders. Don't just go and be with the BN leaders.
No, we are not closing our doors. We are open to talking to every other party, so long as what we require. We know for sure. There's no way, Kelantan is going to be ruled, Terengganu is going to be ruled, parts of Kedah is going to be ruled by them, the northern states of Selangor is going to be ruled by them, Perlis is going to be theirs. We cannot rule out PAS influence. That is for sure. But somebody is going to rule. A majority Malay party is going to rule the country, going to be the Prime Minister of the country. So we realize that. So as it stands, there are probably 2 or 3 coalitions now. I don't know.
What? Okay. What about Bersatu? Can you? I want to cover the big parties first, because it has the power, or at least the opportunity to influence the politics. Okay, Bersatu. I know some people say they are getting weaker and weaker. They have lost some traction. What do you think of them?
Bersatu, I've got no issue with Bersatu. As you asked me about PAS just now. There's no way we can help PAS in any way in their states. We don't bring value to their table. But I think we can bring value to Bersatu or Pejuang or even UMNO for the matter. Because these are the parties that are active or strong in the semi-urban and urban areas. Now, in 2008 elections, when we campaigned for the opposition then, we managed to sway the voters. So likewise, if Bersatu work with us and we work with them, And then I think we can sway the Indian voters in semi-urban and urban areas. It's doable. Having said that, now there is also just like DAP lah, they have created a narrative of DAP, Likewise, they've created a narrative about me. This was created by UMNO then, that I'm anti-Islam, I'm anti-Malay, I've got links to LTT lah, macam-macam. So much so, when I was a minister, when the ISET issue, exploded, so to say, I got nothing to do with it. But I became the scapegoat there. Why? Because I was put in a position that I had to answer the parliamentary question. Because at that point of time, the PM was in UN, Foreign Minister was there in New York, and questions were raised here. And I was the only available minister under the JPM, so I had to answer the question, and I became the bad guy, And the narrative fitted in well. Look, we told you, he has always been anti-UMNO, anti-Malay, anti-Islam, so it carried on. In the last elections, we thought we could, work with UMNO, with the new leadership of Dato Sri Zahid. Just before, before Parliament was dissolved, I think, Dato Zahid came to my house, or rather, Parliament was dissolved before nomination day for Deepavali open house. He came to my house. Immediately, Anwar Ibrahim made a big issue. Oh, itu tengok, Dato Zahid dia pergi rumah Vedamurti. Itu yang bawa ISET dulu, yang anti Melayu, anti Islam. Created the fear. So if they carry on doing this, then they are not going to get our votes. We might as well go as a third party, third force. We can even develop a third force. But third force is
no. Coming back to Bersatu, you think Bersatu is like that now?
I don't know. Probably Bersatu is.
You should talk to people like Hamza. Hamza is supposed to be. I don't know. Muhyiddin has gone overseas a lot, but Hamza is the number 2. Have you met him?
No, I've not met
Maybe
him.
you should.
Yeah.
Maybe
Probably,
should.
yeah.
Because I'm sure everybody needs everybody lah.
Yes. Yes.
This election is. And Anwar Ibrahim is, because he's Anwar Ibrahim, he would have forgotten you lah.
Of course.
So, no. But I just want to come to the main, not the main, but towards the end. This is the last part of our conversation for now. You see, I feel that. See, this is a very corrupt country. It is. Despite all this talk about removing corruption, anti-corruption drive, it is very corrupt. And I think that is because we have so many leverage, the power, people have leverage on the leadership. In other words, the leadership is not just politicians. They have the hereditary rulers. Then you have the civil servants. And then you have the armed forces. Then you have all these people. Now, so because it's so difficult to manage all these various entities, so what happened in most countries is that they are linked together by a system.
Yes.
And the system whereby everybody get their cut, their share. And I believe that the way the economic cake is being divided in this country, consciously, is by taking care of this vestige of power, I think. So much so that when you talk about ordinary people, the majority of them, you get the crumbs.
Yeah.
You get the crumbs.
Yeah.
Right. So my point is this, if you agree with me, but what is my disappointment is that despite all the talk about corruption, not a single party has come up with a plan. What do you propose to do? Because I think for all the rights that you are fighting for, if there's nothing to give, so how are you going to defend? How are you going to provide for the poor in this country? We have I think I don't care about Anwar's manifesto, 300 pages. There are too many. But can you come out with a party or with a manifesto focus on corruption? And I think I hope you will stir or spur the interest of other parties of that issue. Because if you look at Sabah today, for example, election in about 3 months' time, the issue they talk about is corruption. You know, I mean, but if you look at this group and that group and that group, you don't know which is better or worse, because you know, and it's such a shame that we do not come to grips with how to resolve this corrupt practice in the country. And I think what could you mobilize that kind of. Now, of course, you go on the basis of this is what the Indian community want. Can you also say this is the measures against corruption is what the Indian community want? Can you come up with that?
Okay, let me answer you on that. See, the Indians are 7%, government says 6.6%. Yeah, probably 2.5 million or 3 million, I'm not too sure. Now, it is a fact that almost 70% of them fall into the B40, and probably another 20% slightly above the middle class, and 10% are probably rich. Okay, so our core supporters are from the poor and underclass.
Yes.
We have been working with them for 20 years. Okay, now when they are suffering, when they are poor, you can't go and talk to them about corruption. They don't understand what is corruption. They will never understand what is corruption.
Oh.
But if you tell them, look, we can find a solution for your issue, they will understand. Corruption, they don't understand. So corruption is a higher agenda that should be taken by probably bigger parties established. We can, of course, work with them. So the major parties, the major Malay parties, and Chinese parties should work on it, should talk about it. Now we see that DAP, which was talking about corruption previously, now suddenly has gone silent.
That's what I mean.
So now people know. So because they have gone silent, there's no alternative. People think there's no alternative. When people ask me, how come Anwar is doing this to the Chinese and Indians? Because I tell them, because he thinks we have no choice. When he confronted the little girl, he said, if you go underpass, you will be in a worse situation. So he's basically sending a clear signal to the non-Malays. Look, whether you like me or you don't like me, you have to vote for me because you have a bigger evil there. Pass. Which is wrong. I think he's wrong on that.
No. But I'm sorry. I don't expect UMNO, to take charge or to take the lead to fight corruption. I don't think so. Because the whole system is premised on that you get for what you do for the party. This is the rent that you can collect. This is the money that you goes there, the benefit that you get. And this is permits the whole party.
Can I suggest something? This is my view. Huh? See, basically, the major parties, UMNO, PAS, Bersatu, probably Pejuang, they have good leaders there. And the Malay party is PKR, for example, and Amanah. Okay? Forget Amanah. Amanah is... Okay, you can include Amanah also. Never mind. Now, end of the day, whichever way we play Mahjong, the Chinese and Indians have to follow with this. Whoever in the next election, we do not know how is the coalition going to work out. We do not know. But coming back to answer your question about corruption, none of them will touch on the issue of corruption because somehow or other, like what you correctly explained, somehow or other, whether by design or their own will, they are involved in it. Some way. I'm not saying anything, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. By way of design or will, they are involved in it. So to put a stop, when A is in power, A will say we will get rid of B. who's corrupted. When B is in power, B will say, we will get rid of A who was corrupted. It goes on and on. So this is a vicious circle. I feel for once, parties, a party or a number of parties should be bold enough to say, or rather should be bold enough to accept. I think Najib's brother made a proposal to reset. Forget about the past. Let's reset, get it done once and for all. If they come with that proposal, I think that will be accepted. Don't go for the past, because then it's never ending. I come to power, I'll get you. You come to power, you get me. It's never ending.
But who wants to do the reset?
Yeah, somebody within the political parties, if not the top leadership, then somebody else within each party must take up the leadership and say, if I come into power or if we come into power, we'll do a reset. This is how our agenda is going to be. We will revamp the system. We will revamp the selection of MECC. We will revamp the judiciary selection. We'll revamp the entire system in this way. Somebody has to come up with that. And that cannot be done by us. We are minority. It cannot be done by us.
Okay. What happens now, Mehta? What happens to Najib? Can you just give me some idea? You think he's just going to just languish in jail for the rest of his life? Or has he got a future politically?
Well, he seemed to be liked by the Malays. For whatever reason. The Agong has reduced his sentence by 50%. And probably when he comes out of jail, he'll make a comeback. Because he's still liked by the Malay community.
When will that be? That will be after the next election.
Yes. Well,
and he'll be 76 years old.
Well, Tun became Prime Minister when he was 90 plus.
Yeah, so possible. Huh?
Possible.
It's possible for Najib to make a comeback. But not under UMNO. Under UMNO.
Possible. He still has a huge support base in UMNO. You never know.
And it's very interesting today that where we look at the leadership of UMNO, PAS, PKR, I wish PAS has got a new spokesman. Hadi has been there for many, many years. But you think he will continue? Or do you see anyone there that can be a replacement soon?
Well, they are trying to portray the Terengganu Menteri Besar as a...
They meaning who? PAS?
Meaning PAS itself. Trying to project him as the PM candidate. I feel YB Takiuddin is a good candidate as well, I'm sure there are many others, but they are being overshadowed by the ulama faction. But if PAS can portray more of the moderates within their party who could explain to the non-Malays about their policies, then I think we'll be able to convince the non-Malays to come to an understanding. The simple reason is this, because the non-Malays understand they cannot make a difference in Kelantan, Terengganu, Kedah, Perlis. So, like it or not, PAS is going to be there. So, if they come to power, if their candidate becomes the Prime Minister, then we have to work with them.
What happened to the promise? Like we started this conversation. Malaysia should change. Why become racial? Why can't we just be Malaysian? Why do we have to have special? Every other word used is privileges. So why can't we just talk about people as people? Is that a realistic political situation? Will there be a leader of some substance who will surface and talk about this sort of issue in the future, in the near future?
In the near future, I don't see anyone in the near future.
Yeah, because just now you said Anwar.
No, he gave the picture. For 20 years, that was the picture he gave.
Yeah. But
now, after 20 years, people are disappointed. So, beyond that, there's nobody else within PKR who could give the same projection or give something different. None. In fact, now the people realize he's becoming more Malay-centric. So on the other hand, in the other parties, we don't see anybody.
I know. That's so unfortunate. We have a rich country, rich tradition, and all sorts of clever people around, and yet we're still stuck
Yes.
in the time, it's kind of a warp, and no one is able to take us out of this rut, Oh, it's terrible. Anyway, Veta, thank you for
Thank you for having me.
discussing these issues with me, and then in the future, if you've got other good things to talk about, please
Sure.
come and chit chat with me. I'll give you coffee.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Veta.
Thank you.